All right. Next question is from Barb. And I sound weird because I have COVID. There's another video coming out about that. Barb is asking what can be done to basically publish or maybe publicize the data more for young kids, like the 6 months to 5 year old vaccinations. Great question. Allow me to point you toward the answer. So, the way you can find it on your own, and yeah, feel free to do this in real time. You can make me real small down in the corner. You don't even have to see me. Yeah, this will still work. Go to your Google, type in FDA Advisory Committee Calendar. That's the thing you want. And then you're going to hit that. You should see something like this appear on the side. And so that's the link that you'll want, and it'll take you to all the different advisory committees, and that's fine. And then they go by date, and so the one that you want that has the information on the young vaccines for Pfizer is this one. It's the 14th and 15th. So let's click on that. And then once you are on here, you can scroll right down. Pardon me. All the files you need are at the bottom. Now, as you're looking through these, you'll see you want to look over here at the source organization. If it says FDA, this is usually something that is not particularly interesting. These are usually documents that have to be filed by the various people that are present and attending or something like that. This is paperwork, red tape, whatever you like. Yeah, the interesting stuff is not there. You look for the non-FDA ones, and it'll give you a little title over here of what we've got. So we've got our Pfizer in the very young kids. That is the one you want. And you can see it's purple because I clicked it before. And then you scroll down here, the next non-FDA, you've got great. Moderna from 6 to 17, fantastic. Nice little study there. You've got, let's see, update on myocarditis. The answer is it was overblown, but you can read all the details there. Vaccine coverage during Omicron. I think that one largely hits some of the same material. I think they invite several people to present, and what you see are often several versions of the same graph as you go through the entire presentation, just because they're all essentially working from official national data sets. So, yeah, to some extent. And then this is a separate little Moderna one, and whatever. It goes on and on and on. So that's another thing for the pediatrics. I think this is the best one, though, because it lays out the stats and it's in a nice, easy form. So, and by way of maybe helping, hopefully helping, let's click this and let's look through it. All right, so there you go. And these are the people, and flip past it. So it's going with general stats first. And then I think we get to the first interesting one, which is saying, okay, COVID-19 cases among children, people under 18 by age group. And so these are all scaled per 100,000. So some of these age groups are real small, like less than a year. And you say, well, shouldn't be many people in there. But you see they're right about in the middle. Yeah, so babies are getting infected pretty heavily. 1 to 4-year-olds infected pretty heavily. These, though, are only confirmed tests. So we tend to miss more COVID as we get younger in age because people don't haul their sick baby in to a doctor for an extra test because somebody else in the family has it and you know they have it. And so, yeah, generally they only show up in the stats when they go to hospital, or at least that's the most common thing. So very underreported in the younger age groups. That's fine. So that's COVID cases again. This one's interesting. So this is seroprevalence. So this means, so the vaccine, if you've had the vaccine, you'll have antibodies and T cells against the spike because the only thing in the vaccine is the spike. Yeah. But if you've been infected by the virus, then you will have parts of your immune system that remember all the other parts of the virus. So usually they look for a thing called the nucleoprotein because you make a good, strong response to that normally, but it's not a response that does you much good in terms of stopping the virus from getting in. It may help sort of clean up an infection to some extent, but this is one of the many components of immunity that exists, but probably doesn't benefit you maybe as much as the spike immunity. And so they're looking at what percentage of people actually have the virus. So you can look in all these people and check, and oh my goodness, yeah. 5 to 11-year-olds, 77%. My goodness. 1 to 4-year-olds, 68%. So roughly, at least among kids, yeah, neighborhood of 3 out of 4, maybe 2 out of 3 if you're being real optimistic, have definitely had the virus. And this shouldn't be a surprise because, like we always say, you either vaccinate or you get the virus. And it's never the right decision to get the virus, which I have right now, unfortunately, and which kind of stinks. Yeah. Okay. You go on, and so they're talking about differences from the previous periods where you didn't get as many 1 to 4-year-olds infected with, like, this wave was mostly Delta. This wave was mostly, I forget, like, it's some betas and maybe even alphas still back then. Yeah. But this wave, you can see that, yeah, in terms of emergency department visits, they're pretty even among all those age groups. So this is hitting young kids now as hard as older people, at least as hard, I think you can say. So hospitalizations, let's look at that. Yikes. So again, this is scaled per 100,000 people, but it's hardest on little kids. At least the new virus, the Omicron-derived viruses like BA4 and BA5 and BA12 that are circulating right now, which are all basically BA2 offshoots. I think it's a BA212, actually. Yeah, be correct about that. There we go. So yeah, these are seem to be worse in little kids. And so again, anybody tells you this thing is mild, yeah, you can ask them what they're smoking, but maybe don't. I don't know. It's just that's just the weirdest thing to say. So total hospitalizations have really shot up for the younger group, and so these are all pretty good reasons why. Basically, if you got somebody who's still on the fence about getting a kid vaccinated, they're messing up. But the nice thing is that you can still fix this. You can still do something about this. So I think that's good. And people who are not directly working on the epidemiology of this virus would not know that something has changed, that we've gone from a thing that was certainly bad but not worse in younger children to something that appears to be actually legitimately worse as you get younger, those younger kids. So yeah. Okay. And so there you go. So this is the other excuse that people always give when somebody gets sick or when somebody dies from COVID. They say, oh, well, it's because they were overweight. America's had some overweight people, including me, I think, yeah, walking around for quite a number of years without suffering, a giant dip in life expectancy like we have seen over the last 2 years. So, no, that's just not the thing. But it's hitting a lot of kids that have no underlying health conditions. Yeah. About half of the very youngest age group have no underlying conditions, and about 2/3 of older kids, no underlying conditions. And these are all groups that are very, very under-vaccinated. And right now, the way it looks, if you haven't had the virus or a vaccine in the last 6 months, you are under-vaccinated and underprotected. That's what this science appears to show. So you're basically vulnerable. Now, there are people like in my age group that are not eligible for a new booster dose, and that's where it gets tricky. I believe you can go in and say, I'm immunocompromised. I don't think they make you prove anything, and then they give you the vaccine. It seems weird if you're not immunocompromised, but at the same time, I don't know why you would want to make that the only way for people to get it. We're waiting for the new version of the vaccine to come out, but it is not here yet. And honestly, they're being a little slow on this one compared to previous versions. I am not sure why. The early steps were done very quickly, and it has been a long wait. I'm not sure if they're making them retest it completely. If this was something like the flu vaccine, the process would be very, very quick. Just a few weeks between turning around the virus, the new version of the vaccine, showing it works like in mice or some other animal, and then saying, good enough, yeah, that's the new version, roll it out. So it may be to do with this being a relatively recently approved vaccine. That's all I can think. Okay, and you can continue to browse through this. There's a lot of stuff in here. The red line is almost always the younger kids. It's never good anywhere in there. Mortality, yeah, everything is nicely in this. And there are a bunch of other presentations there. So this one by Dr. Fleming Dutra, yeah, fantastic presentation, but one of several in this particular meeting. And every meeting by the Vaccines Advisory Committee has stuff like this. So this is a nice way. This is a form of publication because they're making it public via the government. It's not a paper. And so it doesn't have all the technical language in there that somebody might, like me, might enjoy, but it has everything in there that would give anybody else all the information that they need. And it actually gives me almost all the information that I need. So yeah, these are real good, and I would advise, look these up, use them, send them to whoever. Yeah. What you may run into is that people are using that as an excuse. They're saying, "Oh, I want a vaccine with older technology, or I want a vaccine with, more publications or something like that. I want it to be long." And in that case, it doesn't really matter. It's not an information thing. It's like a feelings thing. And if you can figure out a way to convince them, by all means, that's very nice. And you've done a service to them and to everybody. So good luck. All right. That's good enough. Stay safe. Don't get COVID. And that's good enough for today.